So welcome back. So we are in the part 3 already of all the possible transactions that might be given to the fundamentals of accounting subject. Okay? So in the past two videos, we have the transaction, and then we are going to analyze the transaction of what would be the effect on the accounting equation, A is equal to L plus C. And we are making also, after that one, after the transaction analysis, we are making journal entries. Okay? Now we are now on number 23. On the number 23, the company delivered goods and services to customers worth 300,000 but on account. So on account, that means the customer did not pay yet. However, you have already delivered the goods and the services, which means you have already earned this 300,000. So what will be the entry? So the entry is normally, let's copy. Before we go to the journal entry, let's have the effects on the A is equal to L plus C. We will have an increase in asset, basically, worth 300,000. I guess I have to make it bigger. So that's 300,000 on the asset, and of course 300,000 also on the liabilities because of revenues. Actually, we are recording revenues even if we did not yet receive any payment from the customer yet, and that is because of the accrual. Revenues are recognized when earned regardless of when collected from the customers. So as to the entry, instead of debiting cash, since we did not yet receive any payment yet, we're going to debit accounts receivable. And then credit revenues in the amount of 300,000. Okay? Wait. Okay, so that's it. So let's continue. So number 24 related to number 23, half of the receivables was collected. So this is easy. These are not yet complicated. Let's wait for the next transactions. So on the number 24, what will happen is that since half of that 300,000 is 150,000, we're going to increase the assets by 150,000, and the specific asset is cash. Alright? And then we're going also to credit or decrease 150,000 in the form of accounts receivable. Okay? So this is cash, this is accounts receivable. So it's as if it's an exchange of asset because accounts receivable is also an asset. So actually that is the transaction analysis for this transaction number 24. Actually there will be no entries for the liabilities and the capital, and that the debit is of course cash 150,000, and then you have credit accounts receivable of 150,000. So that's the entry for number 24. Now let's go to number 25. The company delivered goods and services to another set of customers worth 200,000 but on account. But this time there are complications already. Like the terms or the credit terms, it is 310 and 30. So again, the meaning of this one is that when the customer pays within 10 days, they will enjoy 3% discount, and they will not enjoy any discount at all after they pay after 10 days within 30 days. So those are the credit terms. However, again, there are no complications in this one because it's similar to the entry for number 24. Because that 310 and 30 will just play a very important role when we are already receiving cash from the customers. In this case, we are not yet receiving any cash from the customers, right? Because it did not pay yet within the discount period or after the discount period. So your entry will just be, again, accounts receivable, 200,000. There will be no entry like this. And you have to put on the capital also, 200,000. Increase, okay? And the reason for that one is revenues. So you have to debit, instead of cash here, you have to debit accounts receivable, 200,000. And then credit revenues, 200,000. That's it. Now, let's go to the next one. Related to number 25, half of the receivables was collected within the discount period and the remainder was still unpaid. Okay, so let's just assume that the remainder was still unpaid. Okay, okay, meaning we are only going to process the half of the receivables. Okay, related to number 25, and the half is 100,000. So, what will happen? What will happen is somewhat similar to this one, because we are receiving cash from the customers. You will have, since they paid for the discount period, you are going to receive lesser cash. Okay, so according to number 25, the credit terms is 3, 10, and 30. That meant if we have to pay, if the customers is going to pay within the discount period, we can receive only 97,000. Okay, 97,000, because 100,000 is the half of 200,000 times 0.97 from 100 minus the 3% discount. So 97,000. But we are going to credit accounts receivable of the full 100,000. So what will be the balancing figure, since the asset should always be equivalent to liabilities plus capital, and in this case there is a decrease, net decrease of 3,000. The balancing figure, of course, is 3,000 here in the capital, and the reason for which is sales discount, right? Sales discount or discount. Okay, so what will happen? So the cash is only debit 97,000, and the credit is accounts receivable 100,000. So we lack debit, one debit. So we have to debit also sales discount, or discounts if you wanted to be more generic. So you have debit discount and then cash 97,000, and this debit discount is somewhat like an expense. Let's just treat that as somewhat like an expense. Okay, so the entry is now balanced. Debit cash and debit sales discount, that's 100,000, and credit accounts receivable of 100,000. Okay, now let's go to number 27. 20,000 of the outstanding receivables are considered doubtful for collection. So that means if you analyze the assets, it will affect actually the accounts receivable. Okay, so what will happen? Let's copy this and let's just change the amounts to suit the number 27. So 20,000 of the outstanding receivables are considered doubtful for collection. What will happen is the doubtful will be a deduction to the asset, particularly accounts receivable. But there's a twist later on. Let's just have the transaction analysis first. Again, the assets will be decreased because on the receivable should be decreased because they are considered doubtful for collection. And of course, the partner, since it does not have any connection with the third party obligations, automatic the partner is in the capital. And that is due to expense. What particular expense? It could be bad debts expense depending on the chart of accounts of the company, or doubtful accounts expense. Doubtful accounts expense, bad debts expense. They're basically the same. So, what will be the entry? Of course, you'll have bad debts expense or doubtful accounts expense. Let's choose bad debts because it's shorter. So, bad debts expense, 20,000. And then the credit, instead of receivable, basically, the same with the property, plant, and equipment a while ago, or the machinery. We're not going to use accounts receivable in order to maintain the total accounts receivable without considering any doubtful for collection. So, instead of using credit accounts receivable, you are going to use allowance for doubtful accounts. Allowance for bad debts in this case, because we used bad debts expense, 20,000. So this is a contra asset of accounts receivable, which meant they will be listed together. Like the first is the accounts receivable or the gross accounts receivable, and then the allowance for bad debts will follow. And then, if ever the outstanding receivables, for example, is 100,000 and the allowance for bad debts is 20,000, the net realizable value actually of the receivables is 80,000, or those that are sure to be collected. Because of the 100, 20 is doubtful. So let's say the net realizable value, the sure, that will be collected. Okay? So still, the accounts receivable will be considered at 80. Okay? But we are actually using allowance for bad debts. And since this is a contra asset account, its normal balance is credit. Although it's listed immediately after the accounts receivable. Okay? So that's number 27. Now let's go to number 28. So related to number 27, 10,000 are written off as this amount is already sure that it will not be collected. Writing off is actually the result of being so sure that the accounts receivable will never be collected. Okay? So, if ever this 20,000 in number 27 is only doubtful, this will be the analysis. And these are the entries here. Bad debts expense, 20,000, and allowance for bad debts, 20,000. But if you are sure, this will happen. First, on the asset side, the 20,000 will be deducted from the accounts receivable immediately. You have to eliminate this 20,000 already because this is already sure that it will not be collected. Okay? So, you have to credit accounts receivable. But, the effect will be, there will be an addition also of 20,000 because you are also going to erase the allowance for doubtful accounts. Okay? Or the allowance for bad debts. If the allowance for bad debts will be erased, then there will be no deduction already from the gross accounts receivable, right? So since there is no deduction, it will be erased, or the deduction will be erased. The net effect will be an increase in the asset if you delete the allowance for doubtful accounts, right? Okay. And also, this is the decrease of the accounts receivable itself. Okay? So, on the number 27, in the financial statements, the presentation is accounts receivable, for example, gross 100,000 minus allowance for doubtful accounts, 80,000. But here, on number 28, the presentation on the financial statements is just accounts receivable, 80,000. That's it. There is no allowance for bad debts already because it was already erased. And the accounts receivable ceased to be 100,000 already because we have already deducted the accounts receivable. Okay? I hope that's clear. So there is no analysis like that. So this is the full transaction analysis on A is equal to L plus C related to number 28. And what will be the entry? The entry would be, since the allowance for doubtful accounts has a credit normal balance and you wanted to erase it, so debit allowance for bad debts 10,000. I'm sorry. On number 28 it should be 10,000 only. 10,000. And then the credit is of course the accounts receivable. I mean, that's it. Alright? So that's number 28. Now let's go to number 29. Related to number 28, related to number 28, that's correct. 5,000 of the accounts written off were recovered unexpectedly. So on the number 28, we are very sure already that the 10,000 will not be collected anymore. But on number 29, it has been disproved. 5,000 of the accounts written off were recovered unexpectedly. So, what will be the entry for that one? So, if that is the case, the first one, there are two entries actually on the recovery of accounts written off. Let's start with the first one. As to the assets, the accounts receivable will increase. You have to debit it back because again, it was recovered. On the writing off, we have erased the accounts receivable. In the recovery, we have to establish again the accounts written off. Okay? So that's 5,000. However, you have also a negative 5,000 because you have also to reinstate the allowance for bad debts that you have also erased. Okay? Basically, on number 28, we have erased the accounts receivable 10,000 and we have also erased the allowance for bad debts 10,000. And the recovery, we have to establish them. But it's only based on the recovered amount. So 5,000 only. So reinstatement of accounts receivable, this 5,000, and reinstatement of allowance for bad debts, this 5,000. So actually that's the first transaction analysis for the recovery. And there will be no effect on the liabilities and capital. Okay? And as to the entry, you have to debit accounts receivable 5,000 and then credit allowance for bad debts 5,000 also. That's the first entry. But then again, if we say the accounts were recovered, that means you have collected this 5,000 also. So it's not right to leave it at accounts receivable. So you have to make an entry. So on the asset, you have to recognize the cash that was received because it was really recovered. And then you have also to deduct another 5,000 because you have to decrease the accounts receivable because again, after establishing again the accounts receivable, this recovery also meant that these were collected. So the positive here is the cash collected and the negative here is the decrease of accounts receivable because of collection. And as you remember, this is the entry for collection, right? So that's what will happen. There is no other effect on the third party creditors as well as capital. So you just have to debit cash and then credit accounts receivable. Both for 5,000. So on the recovery, actually, there are two entries again that you have to make. The first one is on the recovery. And on the recovery, whatever it is that you have written off in the write-off, like in this number 28, you have to reinstate them. Reinstate the accounts receivable and reinstate also the allowance for bad debts. So that's the first set of entries. And the second one is related to the collection of the recovered accounts. So you have to increase the assets by 5,000 specifically because of cash, and then credit accounts receivable. So that's it for number 29. Let's go to number 30. The company paid for utilities 45,000, communication expenses 30,000, and salaries expenses worth 25,000. So those are, we can actually summarize all of these. So if we try to analyze the transaction, let's copy this one. We will have 45,000 plus 30,000, that's 75, plus 25, that's 100,000 decrease. Okay? That one, 100,000 decrease in cash because you paid for these expenses. And of course, the partner will be on the capital side. This will be decreased also by 100,000 because of various expenses. But when making an entry, if this is as simple as this transaction analysis is simple, in making the entries, you have to separate the expenses because each of these expenses has a separate account title in the chart of accounts supposedly. So you have to debit, for example, utilities expense. Utilities expense is 45,000, and then communication expense also, you have to debit that. Communication expense 30,000. So there are multiple debits, and then we have salaries expense 25,000. Okay, so that is 100,000 already. Now we go to credit. Okay, on the credit, we have to credit one account cash 100,000. So that's it for transaction number 30. So debit 45 plus 30 plus 25, that's 100,000, and then credit cash 100,000. So that's it for number 30. Now let's go to number 31. On the number 31, the company incurred expenses for miscellaneous expenses 45,000 and advertising expense. And since there is no mention that it is paid by cash, let's put a close and open parenthesis unpaid. Let's put that unpaid. Okay, so that meant you have to still recognize expenses even if you have not yet paid those expenses, especially if you have enjoyed already the benefits of those expenses. Okay, for example, advertising expense, you have already consumed the benefit of the advertising activity, so you have to recognize advertising expense already even if you did not yet pay. Okay, like for example, if you hired advertisers and the advertisers has already done their job, so in your part that is already an advertising expense, and then you will have a liability. Okay, so actually this is an accrued expense. Okay, so what will happen? So let's copy this. So on the number 31, there will be no effect on your assets because you did not pay yet. But on the liabilities, it's a different story you have to add a liability of, how much is this? 85,000. Let's save this. 85,000. And the partner is of course negative 85,000. The capital will be decreased, and as you can see, even though there is no effect on assets, the liabilities has an effect. It was countered by negative in the capital, so the accounting equation is still balanced. Okay, and the reason for this decrease in 85,000 in the capital is of course the expenses. Okay, so how do you record that one? You will record debit miscellaneous expenses, of 45,000, and another debit advertising expense, which is 40,000. All in all, you have 85,000. That will be credited on liability. Let's say for example, you put that on your accounts payable or any liability account depending on the chart of accounts. Okay, so you will have credit 85,000. Okay, so debit miscellaneous expense 45,000, debit advertising expense worth 40,000. Let's erase this 5,000 and then credit 85,000. So that's it for number 31. Now let's go to number 32. Yeah. The company received a 10% promissory note worth 150,000 for the services and goods delivered. So that means you have already given the services and goods to the customers, and you received this in exchange, a promissory note that he will pay it with 10% interest. So what will be your entry? Your entry is as simple as you put on asset. Okay, let's copy. You put on asset. Okay, the asset is a notes receivable. Since you receive something, you have to increase the asset by 150,000, and the partner is of course the 150,000 in capital, and that is due to revenues earned. Okay, so your entry will be, instead of accounts receivable, you say notes receivable of how much? 150,000, and then credit revenues 150,000, and that's basically it. How about this 10%, sir? This will just play an important role if we are going to recognize already interest income. And interest income is realized if ever there is time passage. Okay? So we have to wait for the time to pass in order to have interest income, in order to consider this 10%. Okay? And actually that is the subject in number 33. It said here that related to number 32, interest income for 6 months was to be recognized as interest receivable. So that meant you did not yet receive the interest, but you are already claiming an interest income because, again, interest income is earned as well as interest expense is incurred with the passage of time. Okay? So what will happen? Let's copy this one. Yeah. What will happen is you have to compute first the 6 months, the interest. So this 10% is actually an annual rate. If you see any rates like this in receivables and payables, that's an annual rate. Okay? So 10% of the 150,000 is 15,000. So that is for 1 year, 15,000. And we are just to recognize 6 months. So we have 7,500. Okay? So you will put here in the asset increase of 7.5 interest receivable. And of course, the partner is the capital, 7.5, because it's still part of the revenues. And you have to debit here interest receivable, 7.5, and to credit revenues worth 7.5. So the same with depreciation, you need to compute first how much is the interest income before you you tackle on the transaction analysis and the journalizing. Okay? Now, on number 34, the company availed for a loan of 300,000 from Megabank with an effective interest rate of 12%. So what is the meaning of that? So you availed for a loan as a company. So what will be the effect? So on the transaction analysis, it's just you have to increase your asset 300,000 cash, because availing for a loan, that meant you will receive cash from the bank. And of course, the partner is not the capital side but the liability side, 300,000. You have to list your liability, okay, from Megabank. So what is the entry? Of course, debit cash 300,000. And of course, the credit is loans payable, 300,000. And that's it. How about this rate, sir? Again, interest expense will just be talked about if there is already passage of time and you have to recognize already interest expense. And actually, that is the subject for number 35. Related to number 34, interest expense for 3 months must be recorded already as payable. So, how much is the interest expense for 3 months? So, we have 300,000 times 0.12. That is the interest for 12 months or 1 year. So, divided by 12 months, so per month, it's 3,000. So, if we are going to find out for the interest for 3 months, according to number 35, and that is 9,000. So, after computation, we have to analyze. What is the effect? So, you have to, there is no asset involved because it's an expense. So, it's to be recorded as payable, then that means you have a payable of 9,000. And normally, it's considered as interest payable in the chart of accounts of companies. Okay? So, interest payable, and the partner is, of course, a deduction of 9,000 in the capital. So, the accounting equation is still balanced. And the reason why is there a decrease is because of expenses, and specifically that is interest expense. So, what will be the debit? The debit should be loans payable. Alright? Loans payable, 9,000. And then credit. No, that's not loans payable. The debit is actually interest expense, 9,000, and credit is interest payable. So 9,000. So that's it for this video. We are going to continue for the other transactions in the next video to keep this video short. So if you are still learning, please click like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, and see you on my next one. Bye-bye.